Have you ever wondered what kind of English you actually need to crush it at work? We spend so much time on complicated grammar, but what if the real key is a lot simpler? Well, we got a fascinating peek inside a real-life coaching session with a finance team, and we're about to break down the most practical, useful language they learned, the kind of stuff you can start using, like today. Let's dive in. So, we've broken it all down into 5 core areas. We're going to kick those off with introductions, then we'll walk through a typical morning. We're also going to unlock a super powerful verb that will seriously simplify your life, then tackle the language of commuting, and finally, we'll look at the tiny little words that make the biggest difference in your fluency. All right, section 1. Let's start with something we all have to do. Talk about our professional experience. This is usually the very first impression you make, so getting the language right here is a huge deal for showing your confidence right from the get-go. This question, it seems so simple, right? How long have you worked here? But your answer is one of the first things that really shows how comfortable you are with English. It's a small moment, for sure, but it can say a whole lot. So let's break down the perfect way to answer it. Okay, so check this out. The rule here is actually super simple. You use for when you're talking about a length of time, a period, like for 11 years. But you use since when you're talking about the specific start date, like since 2012. So you could say you've worked somewhere for 11 years or since 2012. Both are totally correct. They just frame the information a little differently. Easy, right? Let's move on to something we all do every single day, our morning routine. Now, this is a goldmine for practice because the vocabulary is personal, you can repeat it every day, and it's incredibly useful for just, regular conversation. Here's a fantastic little detail that makes a huge difference. In English, we don't really say an alarm sounds or starts. The phrase you're going to hear from native speakers, like 99% of the time, is the alarm goes off. For example, my alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m. It's a small change that makes you sound instantly more natural. And, of course, what happens right after the alarm goes off? Well, for a lot of us, we hit the snooze button. This is that perfect phrase for when you need just 5, maybe 10 more minutes of sleep before you have to face the day. We've all been there. And this brings us to 2 classic personality types. So, which one are you? Are you an early bird, someone who just loves the morning and wakes up full of energy? Or are you a night owl, the kind of person who does their best work late into the night? Knowing these is great for small talk. All right, let's talk about what might just be the most powerful, most useful verb in the entire English language, get. Seriously, if you can master this one little word, your conversational English will take a massive leap forward. This one is an absolute game changer. Let me show you what I mean. And this just shows you its power perfectly. Look at how get can basically narrate your whole morning. You don't just leave your bed, you get up. You don't put on clothes, you get dressed. You don't prepare for work, you get ready. See how simple and efficient that is? And it just keeps going. You get to work, which means you arrive. You get home. You can even use it for other people, like when you get your children ready for school. It really is a super verb. Okay, so after you get ready, you've got to get to work. Let's build on that. This next part is all about the language we use for our daily commute, and believe it or not, the simple math that can go right along with it. Now, this is a classic mix-up for learners, but this makes it so clear. When you want to know about the time of a journey, you ask, how long does it take? The answer is going to be in minutes or hours. But when you want to know the distance, you ask, how far is it? And the answer will be in kilometers or miles. Simple, but so important to get right. So when you're dealing with all that time and distance, you might need to do a little math. And the perfect phrasal verb for that is to work it out. For instance, if you know how far your commute is and how long it takes, you can work out your average speed. And especially in fields like finance, you don't always need the super exact number. That's where rounding comes in handy. You can round it up to a cleaner, higher number, or you can round it down. It's a really practical skill to have. We've covered some awesome, practical vocabulary. So for this last section, let's zoom in on the small stuff. The tiny little tweaks and, this is a big one, the mindset that really unlocks progress and helps you sound so much more natural when you speak. Here is a perfect example of how one little word can change everything. A learner might ask, do you want another thing? But a native speaker would almost always say, anything else? It's such a tiny swap, but wow, it has a huge impact on how fluent and natural you sound. And honestly, this might be the most important takeaway from the whole thing. Learning a language isn't just about memorizing rules. The real progress, the best progress, happens when you can relax, ask questions, and even share a laugh. A positive, fun environment, that's everything. So what can you do right now? Here are 3 clear things to try. First, really practice the difference between how long and how far. Next, become a detective and just look for new ways to use the verb get every single day. And finally, find little problems to work out and challenge yourself to explain the answer in English. And that brings us to the end. I'm going to leave you with this one question. Don't try to learn everything all at once. Just pick one thing, just one phrase from this breakdown, whether it's hit the snooze button or work it out or anything else, and find a way to use it today. Because that, right there, is how you make real progress.